Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your mothers have practically built themselves. Folks, it's Mad Dog Merv, and today I am in a hustling, bustling part of the city, although I'm on a little side street here because, well, it's really loud out on 2100 South. I'm in the Sugar House part of the city, and when I say hustle and bustle, boy, this place is really growing. In fact, I'm not really fond of all the stuff that's going on up here. There's so much new construction in living quarters, but unfortunately it's not what I would consider to be affordable living quarters. That's one of the problems we have here in the city. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is this is the neighborhood where I grew up. In fact, I'm just a block or so away from the elementary school that I went to as a youth. And we have that show up a few months ago, Forest Elementary School. Well, in this neighborhood, there used to be some train activity. So today, Mad Dog Merv is going to take a look at the trains in the Sugarhood. Check it out. So here I am on Sugarmont Drive and the intersection with Lincoln Street. Actually, Lincoln Street dead ends right here at these tracks. And right dead center in the picture here would be the corner where the Smith's Food King is and the old Forest Elementary. So you can see when I was in elementary school how close I was to these tracks that go up through Sugar House. Well, just east of this area right here is the Sugar House station for the tracks line. And this is kind of going to be our little focal point for where we branch off and we tell our little story. This is the parking area here for Fairmont Park, and I used to spend a lot of time as a kid there at Fairmont Park. I grew up just south of this area on 2600 South and Highland Drive, and took a bus over to school. Well, this aerial photograph from 1964, you can see in orange is the spur line that goes off to the Interstate Brick Company. We're going to talk about that first. Just out of the picture to the right would be where that Sugar House station is. And we'll talk a little bit more about the rest of this picture here in a bit, but you can see Highland Drive just zipping on diagonally through this picture. So another angle, this picture from August of 1964. I was just a little tyke back then. You can see here in orange is the spur line, about where the spur line was, and as it goes underneath the freeway there and heads south towards Interstate Brick. Now, I don't remember exactly what year this line was put in, but it's something I ought to get maybe in part two when we do part two of this whole thing. Anyway, here is the old Deseret Industries building there kind of on the left, and this is where the line made its curve, and that building straight in the middle there, well, it wasn't there. The railroad went right on through that area, and then it came out over here on Simpson Avenue. This is the other side of that old DI building, and this is again looking south. And right here where those trucks are parked and those trees are, well, that's where the rail line went heading south. There's not really any evidence of grade or anything there looking this direction. You wouldn't know there was anything except for that aerial view. However, if I drive south one block to Ashton Avenue, parked there in the liquor store parking lot, off to the left you can see the 24-hour fitness. Well, right straight ahead, that white building, you can definitely make out the curve of the rail line that used to be there. And you walk over there and you can definitely tell there was something there at one point in time. So the rail line continued on through where the liquor store is now, and when they rebuilt the bridge over Highland Drive, they covered up where the grade was. But the grade here on the south end of the freeway came out through this area right here, and the telephone poles are a pretty dang good dead giveaway as to where the grade actually went. And I remember this area as a kid. So we're going to drive south, and this is well, this is the old grade. This is where the grade actually sat. It was on this part of the road, heading south here on Elizabeth Street. And when you get to Stratford Avenue here in Elizabeth Street, the poles go a little bit different direction, and this is the way that the grade used to go, was right straight down through there. And you cross 2700 South, there's a little kind of a pie-shaped building there, and that grade came right along this rock wall where that bush is. And actually that part of it wasn't torn up too many years ago. I remember that vividly. Anyway, the railroad would continue south right down the middle here of 11th East. And as a youth, I remember seeing trains heading down to Interstate Brick here on 11th East. It was kind of interesting having it right down the middle of the road. And again, the tracks were there till not too many years ago. Anyway, we're going to continue south to an area where now there's a big old wall and you can't get through there. But this is where the line went. Follow the telephone poles. You go right into the old Interstate Brick area. This was started in 1891, as I recall, by the Press Brick Company. This land it was occupied. And here's a picture of the old Interstate Brick. They took over. They started up business in 1936 and actually went till 1972 when they closed down and moved to, I think it was South Jordan. So kind of a neat history there in Sugar House. So now we're going to go back to the Little Sugar House track stop, and we're going to head east. We're going to head east up the old DNRG grade. And here's some things we're going to be looking at. So you can see kind of a cement loading ramp, if you will, and circled there in red where we're going to look at an auto accident. In blue is a fire hydrant that's going to be significant here in a minute. And then the yellow is the old site of the depot, the Sugar House train depot. Yes, Sugar House had a train depot. So here, about the area where I took a bunch of these pictures that you're going to see here in a minute, there was this automobile accident that you can see right there on that loading ramp. And you see the DNRG train car right there in the background. So this gives you some idea how close this loading ramp was to the tracks. And you can see the crossing lights there, and you can see the Grant Company right across the street. And that's very significant in these modern pictures I'm going to show you here in a moment. And you also see Penny's off there on the right hand side. I remember going to Penny's as a kid when it was in that location. Pretty cool picture. I like this. So today, from that exact same spot as the auto accident, we're looking east. You can see some of the new construction that's going on up there. I'll reserve comment on all of that, but the building right in front of us is that Grant building. And, well, right in front of that is where the old train depot used to be. And we're going to look at that here in just a minute, but you can't even see the tracks anymore. But yeah, trust me, this is that exact same area where that loading dock was. Here's a little bit better shot looking right up the line, the train line that we're about to show you here in a minute. I want to burn this image in your mind because we're going to change it radically here in 3, 2, 1. And there you go. Here the tracks are crossing Highland Drive, and you can see the other tracks going across Highland Drive. Well, those are trolley tracks, but this is how the line looked, the DNRG line, right up through Highland Drive and on up, and the depot there on the left-hand side where the little parking area was in front of Grant. You can see the siding off there to the left. Pretty darn neat picture. Here is the Sugar House Depot. And you can see it's right up there against Highland Drive, so obviously where the parking lot was there for the Grant Company, but beautiful DNRG depot that was built there. Just love looking at this picture, and you can see the streetcar tracks going down Highland Drive. Wow. This thing had to be torn down somewhere in the 50s because, of course, they built the Sugar House Plaza area, these buildings. But you can see the building on the right there is well, just up from where the depot sat, where that siding would be. So this is again looking right down there towards Highland Drive. Highland Drive is about where those telephone poles are out there. Pretty good picture. Anyway, let's go back, and so there's the depot site we just talked about. Let's talk a little bit about this fire hydrant, shall we? Why is that significant? Well, you notice the rail line here as it crosses Highland Drive. I got a friend, Dave Nielsen. He passed away a few years back, but I used to work with him at Douglas Models, and he was a real train buff. Gave me a whole bunch of pictures, and I'd seen this picture. My friend Dale Angel had this picture on one of his videos, and he wasn't sure where it had come from, and I was looking through some of the stuff I got from Dave, and I ran into this particular picture again. So I cropped it up so you could kind of see that fire hydrant there. I was looking west, just about where that intersection was of the train tracks and Highland Drive. You can see like I said, the fire plug there. But what's significant about this is the late 1930s, and so you had the old FT units. Well, they were brand new at the time, the FT diesel units that DNRG had with that black and yellow scheme, which is awesome. Right behind that, it looks like there is a steam engine that's on a flat car, and some passenger cars back there, and way off to the left there, looks like there's a streamliner, like a dome streamliner. Here is that same area. Well, fire plugs don't lie. They don't move them. So right where that fire plug is, and you can see the street that's there now, well, that's where the tracks came across. Very interesting how it looked back then and how it looks today. And again, that picture was back in the late 1930s sometime. Not sure exactly what was going on in that picture, but it was just really cool. Anyway, back to our little cross here in the road. You can see on the very far right the Sugar House Depot and some of the buildings looking north on Highland Drive back when this picture was taken. Can't remember when the heck this was taken. Had to be in the 1930s, looking at the cars in there. Anyway, here's that same area as it looks today. A whole lot different. And well, I remember these stores that were in here. There used to be a Peter Piper Pizza in there, one of my favorite places. In fact, one time I was there just about every day having lunch. It's hard to imagine tracks going down Highland Drive there in this picture, but you know, there was a trolley line. So now we're going to look at this purple circle on the upper left-hand corner of this 1964 picture, and right in the center is a car wash. It was brand new at the time. I remember in the 80s, I used to take my Cougar there all the time and wash it. Right behind that was a dirt track for some go-karts, but it was gone by the time I came along. So we're going to look at this part of the Wilmington Avenue area, and here's the view I remember for so many years. Bradshaw Auto Parts, I got a lot of parts from that place. On the right-hand side, you can see the vacuums for the car wash, and man, I sure miss this view. It doesn't look anything like this anymore, unfortunately. The apartment buildings have closed in. So here is the back side of the Sugar House Plaza, where the tracks used to run right up there to the east. There's a little alleyway on the right-hand side, just out of the picture, that went over to Simpson Avenue. And the car wash was actually here on the left where that building is. That's where the car wash used to sit. Like I said, I spent a lot of time there. This picture is looking west from 1300 East, and you can see the Sugar House Plaza buildings there. You can see the siding going off to service those buildings. It's a great picture. Wendy's is about where these billboards are. That's about where Wendy's is nowadays. Great picture looking west from that area. It was in the early 1930s that, well, this whole area was a gully, and it was in the early 1930s that they filled in 1300 East across this gully. If you ever driven it, you'll kind of have that picture in your mind. Anyway, these concrete tunnels, there was one here on the main line. This is looking west through it towards the depot. Pretty cool. Today, this is looking east from about that same area, and where Parley's Creek comes underneath 1300 East, looking into Sugar House Park. How beautiful that is now. And this is that same area back in the day. You can see the rail line there on the right hand side, and the creek there right in the center. This is an awesome picture, taken from 1300 East back many years ago, looking into the park. Wow. And well, if we look just a little bit there to the south, you can see a spur line that came off of the main, and this line went over to service like the Sugar House Laundry and some of the area over there by the old Keith O'Brien, very close to 2100 South and Highland Drive. Looking back north a little bit from the main line, you can see the main line in the bottom corner. You can see where Parley's Creek is coming in through the road there. But up in the far left corner, you can see the old Utah State Prison building in Sugar House. Isn't that a cool picture? Looking up towards Immigration Canyon. And here, this picture I got from the Historical Society. You can see this is one of those concrete tunnels that was put on the spur line. Yeah, before they filled over it. That's a really cool picture. Recently, they built kind of a walking trail, and they dug it up. They ran into it as they were building it. Here's a great overhead of the old state prison, and you can see the rail line going right through what is now Sugar House Park, but what was then was just the prison grounds. Great picture. You can kind of see the spur line on the very far left-hand side coming off. Okay, we're going to go up to 1700 East, and we're going to look westbound through the park, and this is where the tracks came through what is now Sugar House Park. And actually it was about this area, the 1700 East area, where it kind of went down and followed what is now I-80. This picture taken in 1954 is awesome, this aerial picture. You can see the tracks there. You can see just above the train on the right-hand side, 1700 East, where it dead ends. And on the left-hand side, you can see where it picks back up and heads north. That's a great picture. Look at that, 5 ore cars and an engine. And hey, it looks just like this train here. Well, this is in January of 1956, and this is the last ore car that came down from the quarry. Talks about end of an era. This is out of a newspaper, but look at that, 5 ore cars and a caboose and an engine, just like in that aerial picture. Hey, how about that? Pretty cool. This is actually in Parley's Canyon coming down about the Suicide Rock area, but you know, we're not going to talk about this. My friend Dale Angel, Toyman Television on YouTube.com. Go check out what he's got as far as the old railroads of John Young and the DNRG as it went up to Park City. He's got a great piece on that. It will help you understand once this rail line left the Sugar House Park area where it went. Well, that's it for the regular trains running through Sugar House, but I just wanted to mention, coming up in another segment that we're going to do, we're going to talk about the streetcar system that used to run here in Salt Lake City. Here's a map from 1941, kind of whet your appetite. I know that we've talked a little bit about that line running up through Highland Drive, and it actually ran right past my house on 2600 South at one point in time. Anyway, it went all the way out to 33rd according to the map. Here is the Hiram Jensen Mansion on about 2750 and Highland Drive, and you can see right across the street was a stop, and you can see those trolley tracks running down there. So this is just to whet your appetite for another part of this that we're going to be covering here before long, and that is the streetcars that came through Sugar House. Thanks for joining us, folks.